Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us. We are here because we have some great news. Charmed Kubeflow 1.7 beta is here. What does it mean? What it actually brings new to the table? I have some experts that will help and will be talking more than I do, actually. But before we even get started, I want to remind everyone we are live. We are happy to get your questions about the latest release of Kubeflow, about Kubeflow in general as a product, about Charm Kubeflow, maybe what are the differences. Any curiosity you have? I have with me actually Canonical's experts and part of the engineering team, and I'm very glad. I have Daniela, and it's with her and Dominic that I started this tradition exactly a year ago, actually.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you again. Nice to see you again if you joined last year. I'm part of the Kubeflow team here at Canonical. I'm also part of the upstream release team, so contributing in both sides. Glad to be here.
And you do have some experience with Kubeflow.
I do have some experience. Yes, I'm an oldie on this regard. I have been using Kubeflow for since version 0.7, I think. So yeah, I've been here for a while.
Well, I think it's been an interesting journey for you, and I think you're the right person to inspire also new joiners to the community or to the project because together with me, I also have Noha. She's also part of the Kubeflow engineering team, and I'll let her talk more actually.
Hi everyone, happy International Women's Day and nice to meet you. I joined the Kubeflow team 7 months ago now, and I'm very happy to be here and build this MLOps tool that empowers a lot of data scientists.
Thank you, Noha. And it's worth mentioning we're actually joining from three different corners of the world because Canonically is a remote first company. I have Daniela, who recently moved to Spain. Last year she was in Mexico. She was enjoying the sun. Uh, I have Noha from Egypt and myself from Romania. For those who did not meet me through webinars or did not see me blogging around about Kubeflow and the MLOps landscape, I'm the AI/ML product manager within Canonical. I'm fortunate enough to have great engineers behind, and what we are looking forward is to actually build an MLOps ecosystem that's based on open source tooling, I would say. However, we are here to talk actually about Charmed Kubeflow 1.7. And because I kept mentioning Charmed Kubeflow, and you might wonder what's the difference between Charmed Kubeflow and Kubeflow, it is easy. Canonical is one of the official distributions of Kubeflow, and our product is called Charmed Kubeflow. It follows, or it has the same capabilities. We follow the same roadmap. We follow the same release cycle. Um, and that would be pretty much it around those lines. The journey of Kubeflow itself started about 5 years ago with 0.7, where Daniela got started actually. It's been quite some time, Daniela, right?
Yeah, it's been great time. It's Kubeflow by itself has experienced a lot of changes in 0.7. We were very proud and happy when Kubeflow 1.0 released, and now we're 1.7, which is great.
That's that's quite cool. And then in September last year, together with the engineering team, we decided to take upon a challenge actually. So we said, hey, let's have a beta where people can try it out. Maybe it's not perfect, but we can get their feedback and we can learn what's unclear, what they're challenged with, and that was great actually. We released Charmed Kubeflow 1.6 beta, and apparently it's 5, 6 months now when we have 1.7 beta. I'm very proud of our engineering efforts to make it real. It's not easy, and even if now we are happy and relaxed behind the scenes, uh, we had some fun making it real. And I will not make it any longer and say and move directly to the roadmap. The roadmap here includes all the components, but compared to the latest one, it has two new items, Knative and Kserve. And maybe for those who are new to this product, I would like to start a bit on introducing the components. Kubeflow pipelines is used for workflow automation. What about the rest?
So training operator is for building machine learning models.
Right. So I'll talk about Kserve and Knative at the same time because they offer an interesting solution for inference service in a serverless mode. So on the Knative side, we have some serverless capabilities, and on the Kserve, we have some inference servers. So combined, they offer a really interesting solution.
And we
Except
also
for
have
that,
Knative, that is for hyperparameter tuning for all the machine learning enthusiasts out there. And we also have notebooks that's used for experimentation with your machine learning models.
and I think the only thing that we're missing is actually TensorBoard for visualizations. And with this, I'll actually move forward on our own roadmap. And I already mentioned we follow the same roadmap as the upstream project does. We are involved in the upstream project because we are big believers in the open source. And I'm not afraid to talk for the entire team here, actually. And except for or looking at the Charmed Kubeflow bundle, I see Kserve and Knative as the new stars, as well as two logos that are not overlapped by chance. We have Grafana and Prometheus forming Canonical's observability stack. And I will let the engineers actually talk more about it. I'm not the expert, right?
Sure. So for the canonical observability stack, we have dashboards and alerts. These are used to monitor your Kubeflow performance. So it gives you insights on each component and allows you to detect component failures or performance-related issues, or even predict those happening. Daniela, would you like to tell us about Kserve and Knative?
Yeah, sure. So most people were asking, what about Knative and Kserve in the Charmed Kubeflow bundle? I was asked this, and we received a lot of GitHub issues and a lot of questions about this. Well, we have it now. I was introducing the tools a little bit earlier. So Knative, again, is for serverless capabilities. And when combined with Kserve, you get inference servers in a serverless mode, let's say. So this is interesting, or is an interesting capability because for those out who deploy Kubeflow in cloud environments or where resources are very limited or are expensive, as we know with public clouds, you can just fire some inference services, use them on demand, and just put them to sleep and do not consume any other resource that can generate some cost. So this is a really interesting feature. And again, please try it out and let us know if there's some issues or if there's great things, just let us know and put some comments.
I do have a follow-up question here. You did mention about reducing costs when it comes to serverless, but it actually also helps data scientists to stop focusing that much on the infrastructure itself. Did I get it correct, Daniela?
Yeah, well, you could probably deploy this in let's say your computer in a local server, and it will have the same effects, right? If you're really concerned about your resources and you don't want to consume a lot because you're running experiments and training jobs and whatnot, maybe you can just have this on the side and don't worry about it. Knative and Kserve will just run there in the background, and whenever you need to do some live inference, you just call it. It will fire up a pod and inference servers, and it will just go to sleep after you use it. So it's perfect.
That's quite cool, thank you. And now I'll go back a bit to the observability story. Why is it important to actually have observable MLOps? And I hope that our observability team is also watching us because they're going to be happy that we talk about cost, right? So why do you think it's important to look at the MLOps from an observability perspective? That was the main question.
Right. So when you have observability integrated with your solution, any solution really, it's not just Kubeflow, you're able to see what's going on with the workloads that you're actually deploying, right? How many resources are they using, if they are alive or not, if there's any issue with that workload or that application. It's easier to see through Prometheus and Grafana and some visuals instead of just going kubectl and get some deployment or get some pods and see what's going on in the logs, right? Observability really helps you with the metrics, with all the data that is necessary to keep track of the health of your deployments, in this case, Kubeflow. And we have it integrated with the Charmed Kubeflow Bundle, so it's great. Actually, we will be sharing some links at the end, I believe. So if you want to explore this a bit more, we have included some Grafana dashboards to visualize this data. And we have also integrated some alert rules, again, for when, let's say, your application is not working as you expect. You can see all of the data with the alert rules. You can maybe automate some emergency pipeline or job or whatever, right? So, yeah.
Which is related to the alerts. Having alerts is quite cool, and Kubeflow or COS actually does have them. And I'll move actually further to what's cool in 1.7, because the latest release comes with can run on Kubernetes 1.24, which is one supported version of Kate. And the upstream team is quite proud of that. Is that correct, Daniela? I think.
Yeah. Actually, in the release team, we are really pushing to have or to support the new Kubernetes releases, because as we know, the Kubernetes world is super, super fast. They are always coming up with new versions. So we're really pushing to have the latest. In the past few versions, I think we had really, really old Kubernetes versions. So having 1.24 is a really, really great achievement for the upstream community.
So good job on the upstream community and on this front. But I'll move here because a few hours ago, I'll be honest, we only had 3 items on what's cool in Kubeflow 1.7. And then the ladies came and said, hey, but there's so many cool features and we want to talk about them. So I added 3 more, and I think there should be much more than that added. But who would like to actually get started to walk a bit through them?
Sure, I'm excited for that. So some of the cool features that we have in 1.7 are that Kubernetes logs are now visible in Notebook's UI. So essentially you wouldn't have to kubectl to see these logs outside of the notebook. You can do it from there. And another cool thing that I'm very excited about is the addition of parallel jobs. So that stands for Parallel Distributed Deep Learning. These types of jobs integrate with training operator now. They allow for large-scale training of deep neural networks. So essentially, you can have it distributed and have your model finish faster than usual or run on fewer resources.
That's quite cool. And I'm thinking now that usually data scientists are not educated to be proficient in Kubernetes. So it eases a lot their job. But also, I'm excited to see that the spectrum of use cases that Kubeflow is looking to cover, it continues expanding. And I think that's where also the Jupyter features come in place. Is that right, Naha?
Yes, that's pretty cool. So now inside a notebook, like when you create a notebook, you have 2 more choices in 1.7. So you have Jupyter, and the 2 new ones are Visual Studio and RStudio. So with that, you can have access to both Python and R languages, which we know are languages known to serve data science tasks. And I think it's pretty cool to have both, since R is used for statistical models and visualizations, while Python is used for building the pipelines and handling large amounts of data.
I will be adding here one more thing because I remember when I was in uni, R was also heavily used in the academia. So I think these days Kubeflow addresses not only data scientists who are proficient with Python, but also students or researchers who are working with RStudio actually.
Yes, that is absolutely true. I did experience with that as a student. I struggled with limited resources on my notebook, and I think that this allows for, like, it is so useful for students and people going into research.
Thank you. And now I'll move to model tuning and Khatib. I think Daniela has a bunch of things to tell us about those.
Yeah, so yet again, Kubeflow 1.7 has a really, really long list of interesting features. And I wouldn't like to leave out all of the working groups' efforts, but these are the coolest ones, I think. So Katif now integrates a new simplified UI. This will help you with the configuration and log correlation. So it basically helps the people to reduce that manual steps that you had to do for accessing the many resources that you have. Again, if people were not used to kubectl commands or were not used to a lot of Kate's commands and resources, now the Kati UI has all of that integrated, so that's great. With just a few clicks, you will be able to do it. We also have one thing that it's called Tune API. That's an interesting one. It has a lot of things, but one of the most interesting one is that it's easier to execute experiments, and not just because it's easier to do it in the UI, but it's also because you don't need to know the syntax of the Katib experiment. You can just upload your or you can just have your training script, and the API will just convert it into a Katib experiment, which is, I think it's fantastic. You don't have to know anything else about this syntax of the experiments. And then regarding the Kubeflow pipelines, well, we now have more details in each of the steps of the pipelines. This, I guess, simplifies the analysis of parameters. It lets you visualize the metadata a little bit easier, a little bit faster, and also the artifacts that you have in between each of the steps. So it's really easy to just visualize that and work with each of the details, the metadata, the artifacts in each of the steps in the pipeline.
Thank you, Daniela. And while I hear your news, and also I read before about this release, I really felt that it was a release dedicated to the end users to bring new enhancements for them to make their life easier rather than to try to bring new cool features that engineers think would help.
Yeah, I agree. I still, I mean, let's recognize the work of the working groups in the upstream project. They did great with both the UI and new features like this Tune API thing, the paddle jobs. But yes, I think they are focusing on the UI side, on the UX side. They are really focusing on people that are rather not experienced in Kates or do not really have access to Kates. Maybe they are experienced, but they don't have access to the underlying infrastructure, right? They cannot just kubectl something to check the logs, to check the artifacts, etc. So yeah, I completely agree.
Thank you. And that was it in terms of what are the news. I strongly encourage you to watch the upstream recording video when it is going to come out. The upstream is scheduled to release 1.7 next week. However, check on the website in the roadmap Git issue on the Git issue about the roadmap such that you stay up to date. Meanwhile, you can try our beta, and we really, really ask you to share with us your feedback. We are open to improve, and there are things that we've learned were not clear, such as our documentation or our guides. So we did work on them actually. And I think we'll be starting to take a few questions because I did see some interesting ones. Actually, the first one is an observation that there are only women, and it is International Women's Day It was by chance, I'll have to say, but I'm very happy to have women in our team and to be working with women myself. And I think it's quite a nice way to actually celebrate. We also see a question on Kubeflow if it can run on the public cloud.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And Andrea, you will help me with this answer. But yes, you can basically wherever you have a Kubernetes deployment, you can run Kubeflow. Just make sure that it's 124 because this release mostly all of the components just support 1.24. So if you have some issues, it may be related to the version of your case. But yeah, we should support any public cloud.
I think you're right here. On one hand, Kubeflow and Charmed Kubeflow can run on any cloud. And then I think, Daniela, what you have in mind is our Kubeflow appliance on the AWS. I think when you're just curious about what Kubeflow is, it's quite cool to have it available in a few clicks. So if you're going to the AWS marketplace and you're going to search for Charmed Kubeflow on AWS, we're going to provide a link at the end of the live stream as well. It is you will be find it, and with a few clicks, we can get access to Kubeflow, to its dashboard, and all its features. So the short answer is yes. The long answer is you can try out our appliance, and it's quite nice, I would say. Except for that, I did see a question on what's the main difference between 1.6 and 1.7, and I think it's a fair point because we talk about the latest release, but for those who are not familiar with the current version.
Right. So I think we mentioned it briefly in one of the slides. So I would say the main two differences would be the integration with Kserving and Knative. That would be one, and the second one would be the integration with COS. That's a really big feature that we added, and it would be nice if someone can test it and tell us like what do you think about the dashboards and the alerts and whatever. So that'll be interesting. And of course, the differences between the past version features and the new features. Well, we listed some, and they will be also release the blog post where everything is detailed. And yeah.
Thank you. I also see a question on what is the main advantage of using Kubeflow rather than Jupyter notebooks, actually?
Oh, that's an interesting one. So with Jupyter notebooks, that's good for experimentation and trying out like different parameters and stuff. But if you want to build an end-to-end solution, then you would need more than just notebooks, and that's what we have in Kubeflow.
Thank you, Noha. I'll go also back to the public cloud comment, and thank you for your feedback. We've got a suggestion to add how to set up the ingress because that's the most challenging part. We'll loop it back to our engineering team and just simply go on charmedkubeflow.io/docs. And in the upcoming weeks, we will be working on documenting it. I also see a question on why is it important to have an observability stack?
Sure. So essentially you want your MLOps solution to be reliable. So you wouldn't want to be dealing with component failures and stuff like that. So having the COS integrated with Kubeflow gives you insights into the performance of your cluster. So you would be able to allocate your resources accordingly and avoid any performance-related issues.
Thank you, Noha. So I think we're reaching an end with this. You can easily try 1.7 beta, as I already said. Share your feedback with us. Also share your questions, and don't be shy. Any question is good question. We can easily learn what you don't know, what's unclear, so we can better document it, talk about it, or approach those topics in the future. Also, the engineering team is happy to support and to give a helping hand. I would like to really thank Daniela and Noha. I know it is a bit late for you, Noha, as well. So thank you very much for making it real. And thank you for
Thank you.
celebrating with me International Women's Day and having Charmed Kubeflow 1.7 beta out there.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks to everyone that came. And yeah, let's try out 1.7 beta, and happy to be here again.
Thank you. And I will add one more thing.